Hey y'all, it's V, Wagwan. Welcome back to my channel, Asha Sashay, where I like to discuss Black liberation, radical spirituality, anything else I feel like, but basically how we can use, how we can challenge the status quo, systems of belief, and decolonize our minds, our ways of thinking to liberate ourselves. So today I'll be talking about America's identity as a narcissist and Black Americans' identity in that dynamic as the scapegoat and how the different roles that can manifest from that identity. Because one of the keys to healing narcissistic or healing from narcissistic abuse is not only divesting from their bullshit, but remembering who you are. And I think for Black Americans, that is the most powerful lesson that we can learn and will eventually lead, God, fingers crossed, only reason why I'm doing this shit, to our collective liberation. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so to start, we have to identify the narcissistic aspects of the American identity, which includes, our history, our culture, our status quo, our society, why I believe that America is a narc. So, to begin, I could simply say read a history book, like a good one. You have stolen land, outside of, stolen land, genocide, chattel slavery, economic inequality, human rights violations, imperialism, capitalism. What else? Not minding our business. Let's really break it down. But yeah, a narcissist is essentially an energy vampire. They lack empathy, human rights violation. They lack self-awareness, greatest country in the world. They refuse accountability and refuse to adhere to boundaries. Lack of material societal changes, the cost of living, the quality of life, our current regression into fascism, which I would also like to say, sidebar, refuse accountability and lack of societal changes. One of the things that grinds my gears is that people love the Constitution. The Constitution. Girl, if every 4 years, all of our rights, maybe not all of our rights, but really all of our rights, because if geese is on the menu, the duck should be scared. Tu sabe? But if every 4 years our rights are on the chopping block, the Constitution not worth a damn. If every 4 years I gotta worry about something new, why are we talking about the Constitution? Let me shut up. Okay, so we have lack of self-awareness, refusal or lack of accountability, refusal to be accountable, to respect and adhere to other people's boundaries, lacking empathy, and underneath all of that, the primary goal of a narcissist, their motivations, their intentions, and their actions revolve around power, dominance, and control, and manipulation. That's it. Which we can also see manifested in imperialism. Because why we have a military base everywhere? What business do we have in Guam? I don't even know where Guam is. And I got a good education. What business do we have in Guam? What is a Guam? Child. Okay, so the scapegoat in a narcissistic family system or work dynamic or relationship, usually it's multiple people, right? You have a narcissist, you have an enabler. I'm going to have to talk about that. You have a golden child. You have the lost or forgotten child, but you have the scapegoat. And Black Americans, we occupy the role of the scapegoat, which is what I'm talking about in this video. But the scapegoat is basically the person that the narcissist identifies internally and outwardly. And so internally, they identify this person as the problem because they threaten the narcissist's ability to have control, power, and dominance. Externally, they must identify the scapegoat as a problem so that other people agree with them, peer pressure essentially. And then through the power of groupthink can, safeguard that narcissistic person or entity, let's say, their power, control, and dominance. But through identifying the scapegoat as the problem, the narcissist projects all of their internal shame, anger, and blame out onto the scapegoat. This is usually done because the scapegoat has something that the narcissist wants, either from them that they want either the narcissist wants the scapegoat to do something or be something to them, validate whatever, or it's really and the scapegoat has something internally that the narcissist craves. Sidebar, something that I think is so important is that narcissism, the personality disorder at least, comes from trauma, a traumatic event in which, the narcissist, something in their internal sense of self splits, and it's basically the extreme of black and white thinking. They create a false sense because they have no true sense of self. They create a false identity, and because they cannot be bad, because it's not like I'm a good person that's done a bad thing and I suck at this and I could be better at this and da da da. It's I'm either 100% good or 100% bad, and because they cannot be 100% bad because of that deep sense of shame that they inhabit, all narcissists have this, they have to flip the script to then be 100% good, which is where you get the martyr and the victim. As far as America is concerned, it's almost funny because we didn't ask to be here. Like, y'all took us, y'all kidnapped us. But there's a deep sense of shame that America as a collective, as an industry, right, has, but is also refusing to reckon with, which is why when you see things like the Capitol riots, right, in January 2020, people go, oh my God, like, people, not black people, not most black people, I'll say that, right? Oh my God, I can't believe this is happening, da da da, when it's like, why not? Why can't you acknowledge that the current administration, this is the true character of America, which is why it's bubbling up, right? When power is threatened, and power that wants to remain in power, not for the good of those that they influence, but solely for the sake of power. When power is threatened, it reacts like a child being told, that they can't have that piece of candy. It's a temper tantrum, and it will do anything to not only remain in power, but to make others believe that they are not, in fact, having that temper tantrum. So that's just something to think about in this context. Again, all Black Americans occupy this role of the scapegoat, but there are a few different ways that we cope with it. So all Black Americans occupy this space in America of the scapegoat. However, there are two specific roles that I wanted to speak about, which are the people pleasers and the flying monkeys in this narcissistic family dynamic. So y'all ever notice that when a job is like, we're like a family here, it's the worst place ever? It's because they're not lying. They are a family, but like the abusive kind. People pleasers. So people pleasers is giving in two words, like a summary, respectability politics, right? But people pleasers essentially attempt to assimilate and find acceptance in this system by the narcissist. They sacrifice themselves, their true identity, their moral compass, if any, DK, integrity, to find safety and then eventually power in this narcissistic dynamic. This is kind of like when people talk about people pleasers just in general and how it's manipulative on both sides because you're trying to control through fawning, right? Through abdicating your own sense of responsibility and autonomy. You're trying to make someone do something for you or accept you or love you, etc. because you're just so good and you're so malleable. So that's how the people pleaser identity manifests in this, for Black folks in this role. Flying monkeys. Candace Owen. Flying monkeys is a term, I think it originated from The Wizard of Oz. She had the flying monkeys to do her dirty work, but that's essentially what it is. We're a narcissist through the art of peer pressure and through having created conditions where everyone is so afraid to piss this person off because of they will, retaliate. Flying monkeys will essentially, in exchange for that sense of not only safety, but then power, because there's a kind of like a, I'm rolling with you roll with a big ball, you think you a big ball too kind of vibe, right? They're willing to do the dirty work for them. And so, I think Candace Owens and other folks like her are a great example is because internalized anti-Blackness is not new, right? Like, through this system of America, we have always, all of us, white, Black, Asian, otherwise, it does not matter. We all get the same anti-Black and white supremacist ideologies baked into us. Black people, unfortunately, are receiving this about themselves. But some of us decide as a survival mechanism, to believe and to occupy and to perpetuate it. And so, yeah, it's just, it's sad, but it is what it is. Two things that I think about when I hear about flying monkeys and people pleasers. People pleasers, specifically with the idea of respectability politics, is like Martin Luther King Jr. was not sagging his pants when they assassinated him. A suit will not save you. And in that, there are many black folk who the system will not save you. And if it was going to save you, we wouldn't even be in this position in the first place. Like, duh. Things to leave us with. First and foremost, what do narcissists need to thrive, right? To succeed, to win? They need energy. They need belief in their bullshit. They need sheep, people who will follow and believe and not question, not defy, not fight back, who will cower. They need validation. They need to know that they are important, that what they're doing is working, that is affecting you, and that it is affecting you and your sense of self so deeply that you are willing to sacrifice yourself in order to not harm or confront this narcissist, right? What do we need as Black Americans, right? And so the point of this channel for me always is one of those points. We need to critically think. We need to decolonize, right? We need to reevaluate and question and go back and double check our notes, right? Every single thing that American society and culture has taught us about ourselves, about everything, about religion, about our way of life, about capitalism, about the food we eat, about the clothes, everything needs to be questioned. Nothing is off limits. We need to divest. We need to focus and build our sense of strength and our sense of communities, which we know through, like, for example, Black Wall Street. They don't like, but if they don't like it, that tells us that we need to keep doing it and that we need to be stronger and more steadfast and have a better foundation underneath ourselves when we do it, right? 2, well, we need to stop having diaspora wars. Let's start there. This shit gets on my nerves because we arguing about this, that, and the third. None of us should be speaking English or Spanish. Why are we yelling at each other? They got us, the divide and conquer. Hello. Anyways, most importantly for me, right, as the daughter of a narcissist who's actively doing this, we need to remember as Black Americans who we are and why we were abducted in the first place and have been kept in this cycle. And that is not only a physical work, right? That's financial, but Black capitalism will not save you. Jay-Z never sent you no money. But spiritual and energetic and mental, right? We need to remember who we are. I think it was a video, I've brought this up before, right? With, oh my God, what's his name? He finds Mark Lamont Hill. They said that we're dirty, but we're cleaning their houses. So we can't be dirty. We're uncivilized, but we're raising their children. We're not uncivilized. We have to, and through this process of critically thinking, remember who we are. That if they're telling us, if someone who wants you to struggle, right? If someone who wants you to hate yourself is telling you something about yourself, it's the opposite. We need to remember that we run this. American culture is racist Black culture. That there is nothing that Black Americans specifically had not been able to flip it and reverse it like Missy Elliott. Nothing. There is nothing in our history that does not indicate the spirit of strength, of resilience, of joy, of magnetism, and of pure power. So yeah, that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you soon. Be well. Peace.